The opposition party of one of Taiwan's former diplomatic allies may tip the country's allegiance back in Taipei's favor. Caught in the act, a Taiwanese live streamer is sentenced for faking an assault in Cambodia. Activists and politicians honor disability rights activist Chen Chun-han. Plus, duty calls, a new pup is training to join Taiwan's search and rescue force. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. An opposition party in Solomon Islands says it will re-establish diplomatic ties with Taiwan if it wins the country's election in April. The Pacific nation switched its supports to China in 2019 and has been steadily growing closer to Beijing since then. Louise Watt is following the story for us in Taipei. Louise, a glimmer of hope for Taiwan, which has been steadily losing its allies in recent years.
Yes, there is a glimmer of hope. Now, Taiwan's foreign ministry has responded by saying it will take seriously any opportunity that helps enhance Taiwan's international status and expand its international space. Now, this idea of switching back to Taiwan has come from the leader of a smaller opposition party in the Solomon Islands. It's part of a coalition. The leader is Peter Kenelori Jr. But you don't need to be part of a big party in the Solomon Islands to get elected. And really, it's up to how well can you rally your supporters to come out and vote for you. And Peter Kenelori Jr., he is a charismatic leader. Now, the only thing is he's likely to be up against the current Prime Minister of the Solomon Islands, Manasseh Sogavare. He's the one that cut ties with Taipei, and then he went on to sign a security pact with Beijing. But his decision to cut ties with Taiwan was not universally popular in the Solomon Islands. Indeed, 2 years after he made that decision, protesters even tried to storm Parliament to demand Sogavare step down. But he has remained in power, and under his rule, Solomon Islands has become arguably the closest Pacific Island nation to Beijing.
Louise, it does feel like we are seeing a real concerted effort by China to assert itself in the Pacific. Is it a battle Taiwan is losing?
A quarter of Taiwan's few remaining diplomatic allies are in the region, and it recently lost Nauru to China. And others are warning that Beijing is actively seeking to get them to switch allegiance, to ditch Taipei. And in fact, the leader of Palau, he has reportedly recently said that China has said if you switch allegiance to China, if you ditch Taipei, China will fill every hotel room of Palau, so give its tourism sector a big boost, and spend $20 million a year on business investment. So that kind of economic might gives you an idea of the pressure China can bring to bear, and of course advantages for Pacific Island nations. But in some good news for Taiwan, it's looking increasingly likely that another ally in the Pacific, Tuvalu, will elect a prime minister that is pro-Taiwan. I've been speaking to sources close to the negotiations for that new leader, and I understand that a former Attorney General, Folete Deo, has won the support of more than half of Tuvalu's newly elected MPs, and he's very much seen as wanting to continue diplomatic ties with Taiwan.
Thank you, Louise. That was Louise Watt reporting live from Taipei. A Cambodian court has sentenced a Taiwanese live streamer and his cameraman to 2 years in prison. Streamer Chen Chun-han, known online as Goodnight Chicks, claimed he'd broken into the headquarters of scamming rings only to be caught and tortured, but it all turned out to be fake. Police say they found Chen and his cameraman staying at a hotel with a room full of props. The pair were arrested. Criminal rings have abducted hundreds of Taiwanese citizens in recent years in Cambodia, using fake job offers to lure the victims to the country. Police say the fake video damaged Cambodia's image and public order. For an in-depth look at what the sentencing of these Taiwanese live streamers mean, John Ventura spoke to political and cultural commentator Brian Hugh from New Bloom magazine.
So what does this say about Taiwan's internet culture? These particular live streamers aren't the only ones who've been, doing more and more extreme things to get more views.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, because at a time in which there's a lot of concern about misinformation and disinformation, influencers are somewhat new territory. Where previously, for example, there was a fight between two influencers, Toys and Chao Ge, that was also accused of being fake. There was also, for example, Brian Tseng had a viral stunt where he pretended to give 50,000 NT to a military veteran, which turned out not to really exist. But it's interesting how the public responded this time around in reacting against the influencers. So I think there is still this attempt to call them to account regarding exaggerating or creating fake news.
A lot of the anger from the Cambodian side has been about, not things like wasting police resources, but actually damaging the country's image in the international sphere. Now, it's true that Cambodia is a place where Taiwanese people have been abducted or lured into sort of kidnapping schemes. But do you see this as an attempt to sort of capitalize on a stereotype?
So it is the case that there have been kidnappings in Cambodia by the thousands. And so there's a lot of views of Cambodia and Taiwan. But I think particularly Cambodia has a priority on maintaining its reputation for tourism and avoiding this perception of the country as scam-ridden or just allowing for scams and kidnappings. And that's why there is such a strong response. But I think it does point to, for example, Southeast Asia in terms of Southeast Asian countries and how Taiwan is a safe country that may provide tourism, for example.
Now, the wild card in this scenario is actually China. There's a history in Cambodia of sending suspected Taiwanese criminals to China and treating them as Chinese citizens, as China would claim. Do you see them handing over these two influencers back to Taiwan at the end of their jail sentence?
Cambodia is a place in which there's a significant level of Chinese influence. I think that particularly if that did occur, this would, again, switch perceptions up. I think there would be more sympathy towards the streamers, whereas previously there would not be. I think in this case, because it does not involve, for example, Chinese victims, as cases of telecom fraud often do. And that is one of the reasons, I think, why Taiwanese then are sent to China. It's not just necessarily the views of territory and that China's claims over Taiwan. So I think it's to be seen, but if so, that'd be a very unexpected twist, and it would, again, cause a switch in perceptions about this case.
That was political and cultural commentator Brian Hughes speaking to our reporter John Van Trieste. Prominent disability rights lawyer Chen Chun-han has died at age 40. Tiffany Wong takes a look at his life and work.
Before disability rights lawyer and scholar Chen Chun-han became an advocate for others, he learned the power of advocacy from his mother.
我从小就没有办法翻身，后来妈妈就是安慰我说没关系啊，你没有办法翻书，我就当你小。
Chen was born 40 years ago with spinal muscular atrophy, a condition that affects muscle movement and development. And after suffering burns while at college in Taiwan, he had both legs amputated. But Chen persevered in his studies and later graduated from Harvard and University of Michigan's law schools. Over the years, Chen became known for his work advocating for greater accessibility that was lacking when he was growing up, inspiring others in Taiwan to imagine a brighter future for those living with disabilities.
他其实也很投入在身心障碍者的一些工作权益的职务再设计的一些相关的推动，所以我觉得以他的一个个人的经历跟需求，以及他国外所学到他很多的一些法律带到国内。 我觉得对台湾来讲，是非常重要的一个人物，对。
In January's elections, Chen was one of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's legislative nominees and aimed to promote drug reforms for people with disabilities.
每一条生命都应该要被珍惜，所以我希望是台湾在整体的罕病的药物支付上面的制度的相关改革，我们是不是可以更快速？
And though he lost the seat, the party vowed to continue the work that he started. Chen was recently hospitalized for complications from a cold and passed away over the Lunar New Year holiday.
非常难过，因为我们都知道他是一个勇敢的生命斗士。
陈俊翰的一生都是非常激励人心的故事。
In a statement online, Chen's family wished him peace and freedom from pain, and said they'll hold a public memorial to honor him later this month, allowing those whose lives he's helped improve a final chance to say goodbye. Howard Zhang and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Lawmakers are listing their priorities as Taiwan's newly elected legislature is set to get to work next week. And a ruling Democratic Progressive Party is hoping to set the agenda despite not holding a majority in parliament. A group of its lawmakers are now focusing on making a more equal society. Joy Sung reports.
A group of lawmakers from the ruling DPP are getting ahead of the game, introducing a list of bills ahead of the first meeting of the new legislature next week. They're focusing on Taiwan's youth and minority groups, and Taiwan faces one of the lowest birth rates in the world, which is why these lawmakers are saying that supporting the next generation is an imperative. They want to see more resources go into schools and also to support fresh graduates. They're also targeting issues like online bullying and mental health, which they say can harm and discourage young people from reaching their full potential.
很多的青少年朋友他们在使用上网络或者是一些风险家庭，那另外也有可能是本身的一些包含精神上的一些疾患哦，那还有饮食上的一些疾患有一些相关的关系。那当然，其实从这个青少年他们自杀的防治，我们也加强了这个校园的通报。
年轻世代自我实现，让我们为你而战。
Though the DPP has secured a historic third straight presidential term, it is reckoning with some dissatisfaction among the people, especially as they were being aired out in the run-up to the election. Cost of living is a big worry for young people here, with soaring housing prices and drastically low wages in comparison. So here, the DPP lawmakers are making it clear that they hear these concerns and they're committed to representing them in the legislature, and that domestic worries are not falling on deaf ears. Scott Huang and Joyce Sun in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's legislative speaker Han Kuo-yu of the opposition Kuomintang has met with the de facto U.S. ambassador to Taiwan, Sandra Oudkirk. Rick Glauert has this report from Taiwan's legislature.
It's just a few days until Taiwan's newly elected lawmakers gather here at the country's legislature for the new session. And the new speaker of the legislature, Han Kuo-yu of the opposition Kuomintang, he's meeting the United States de facto ambassador to Taiwan. Now, why is this significant? Han Kuo-yu is known for being more pro-China than pro-US. When he ran for president 4 years ago, he made a very controversial trip to China and met some top officials there. The Taiwanese public, however, they're becoming more wary of China and more pro-US. They recently voted in the ruling Democratic Progressive Party into a historic third term in the presidential office. But the Kuomintang, Han Kuo-yu's party, they have a majority in the legislature. So all eyes will be on Han Kuo-yu and his party and on how they deal with Washington, particularly when it comes to those all-important US weapons that they need to buy to deter China. So this meeting, the first major event for Han Kuo-yu in his new role, is seen as a sign that although Han Kuo-yu is pro-Beijing, it's Washington that comes first. John Su and Rick Glauert in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, young people in China seek a new work-life balance away from the office.
At Connected, we believe in the power of dialogue. It's not just about the headlines, it's about finding common ground. Join the conversation.
Connected with Divya Gopalan on TaiwanPlus.
I'm Ed Moon in Taiwan's Jinmen Islands, and you're watching TaiwanPlus News, the voice of freedom in Asia.
过人生的话，你发现说，我们大部分都是爱美的。
我自己少遇见一朵花，我可能就不是这个样子。
开始思考什么叫做一个本土性。
大声的唱出来说我是台湾人。
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Chinese youth are trading desk jobs for a more fulfilling, minimalistic approach to life. As Rosie Greninger reports, the trend known as lying flat poses an immense economic challenge to China's government.
Putting a corporate career dream to rest, Shanghai-based Chu Yi has found happiness in a hobby she hopes can one day make her an income. Facing an economic slump and bleak employment prospects, the 23-year-old is one of many young people in China choosing to take care of their personal well-being and pursue a more minimalistic approach to life.
现在会更满意一点，就是觉得把现在的工资跟以前在公司上班的几千块工资全部都用来作为真正属于自己的时间去做让自己开心快乐的事情，我觉得对我来说很值得。
She now works one day a week to support herself through a tattoo artist apprenticeship. Dubbed lying flat, this trend sees the nation's younger generation working only to cover basic living expenses and dedicating their time to leisure or personal interests. The jobless rate of China's 280 million youth aged 16 to 24 rose to a record high of just over 21% last year, as the economy struggles to return to pre-pandemic levels.
可能稳定职业可以给到的保障跟以前不太一样吧。现在好像其实稳定这个字就比较难达成，无论你在任何行业，所以大家就会更想要去做自己有兴趣的事情。
College graduates are struggling to find jobs to match their qualifications, and if they acquire one, typically encounter high pressures and long working hours for little financial gain. The uncertainty and dim economic prospects are leaving many of the younger generation pessimistic.
China has seen tremendous educational expansion in the past several decades. And for youth today, getting a college education so that you can get a job remains a certain kind of truism. Yet what we are observing is China's economy slows and the labor market prospect remains bleak. So it's a profoundly challenging mismatch for young people to navigate as they try to find their place in the world and strive to a path of social mobility.
China's government has been attempting to address the issue through various programs and policies to create more jobs. But analysts say it is not enough to solve the root causes of the problem. With China's youth representing 20% of the country's consumption and the nation battling an economic downturn, for President Xi Jinping, youth unemployment and lying flat poses a critical political challenge. Patrick Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Japan has lost its place as the third largest global economy as it falls into an unexpected recession. Harrell Hughes takes a deeper look.
The streets of a Tokyo shopping district, full of people, but no shopping bags. Rising prices and stagnant wages means Japan's households are feeling the strain, and consumers have had to cut back on their spending.
お仕事のお給料が少なくなってしまっていて、なのでお洋服とか外食とかもちょっと節約で買わなくなったり行かなくなりました。
ガソリンと電気代が高騰してるんで、石油ファンヒーターに変えたり、車にあまり乗らないようにしています。
The lack of purchases is a worrying sign for economists, as more than half of Japan's economy relies on consumer spending. Less spending means less economic growth, and Japan has been pushed into a surprise recession.
今回は10、12ですけども、7、9月のマイナス、10、12のマイナス、2四半期連続でマイナスになっているというのは、過去、景気後退だった2018年とか2012年とか、その時にも GDP が2期マイナス連続で、になっているので、極めて成長率は低いということがわかると思います。
Japan's economy has been stagnant for decades. It lost its number 2 rank to China in 2010 and is now fallen to 4th behind Germany. The latest gross domestic product report came as a surprise to economists and may delay a decision by the government to raise the cost of borrowing after decades of ultra-low interest rates.
日本経済自体が弱いのでですね、日銀は金融引き締めに動くことができなかったと。今もですね、日銀は3月か4月に、マイナス金利解除をやろうとしているんですが、総裁や副総裁の発言によると、マイナス金利解除を行っても緩和的な金融環境が続くと。
Japan's weak currency and aging population means the economic trend is likely to continue downward, with India projected to surpass both Germany and Japan in the next few years. And if Japan's efforts to stimulate the economy don't work, Tokyo's shopping districts may continue to only see people walking by empty-handed. Ryan Wu and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Greece has become the world's first Orthodox Christian country to legalize same-sex marriage. Members of the LGBTQ+ community took the streets of Athens to celebrate the landmark bill. The law passed by 176 votes to 76, despite vocal opposition from the country's influential Orthodox Church. The new law also lets same-sex couples adopt, but stops short of allowing them to use surrogacy or assisted reproduction. A new species of sea squirt, notable for its panda-like appearance, has been spotted off the coast of a southern Japanese island. The skeleton panda sea squirt has been known to divers in Kumejima since 2017, but scientists only recently started studying it. Its bone-like structures are actually blood vessels, though sea squirt specialists aren't quite sure what purpose their black spots serve. Sea squirts are marine filter feeders that can be found in shallow waters across the globe. Indoor shrimp fishing, once a leisure activity distinct to Taiwan, has become a competitive sport in recent years, with people both young and old vying to become super shrimpers. Jeremy Olivier has the story.
34-year-old Liao Kegang stands out from other young men his age in Taiwan. Rather than spending his downtime playing video games or hanging out with friends, most days he can be seen at the local indoor shrimp fishing venue. It may look like a relaxing activity, but for Liao, it's a bit more serious. It's a $30,000 a year profession. He often joins competitive shrimping events around the country, and he has the trophies to prove it.
第一次比赛我还记得是虾场办的，那时候运气好拿到第一名。第一次参加比赛就拿到第一名，自然而然你对比赛就会有产生那个动力在，所以就变成说，他只要办比赛我就想参加。
Shrimp fishing has long been a popular leisure activity in Taiwan. There are numerous indoor ponds across the country, usually on the outskirts of cities, and people of all ages can be seen enjoying the local atmosphere. People don't actually catch shrimp at these venues, but prawns, mainly imported from Thailand. These shellfish are much larger than their shrimp cousins. They also have small claws that can give a painful pinch if you're not careful getting the hook out of your catch. The activity is considered a part of local culture, something distinctly Taiwanese, but as a sport, it's now moved beyond Taiwan's borders.
钓虾本是台湾的本土文化，比赛最多的目前来讲还是在台湾。香港最近他们现在几乎1个月，甚至每一个礼拜都有一场赛事，包括像新加坡也开始积极的在举办比赛。
As the shrimping craze continues to gather momentum, and competitors like Liao Kegang are able to make a lucrative career out of it, this Taiwanese pastime is likely to get more and more people hooked around the world. Ethan Chen and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
Search and rescue animals work hard at their job saving lives, and just like their human counterparts, they can look forward to a cozy retirement after years of service. And as one veteran pup's career winds down, another is just beginning. Reese Ayers reports.
Rolling into retirement. Former search and rescue dog Guang is living his best life after 5 years of service. But despite officially handing in his badge last year, Guang can't quite shake off his instinct to work.
他会突然间耳朵立起来或者怎样，可能就是有人开铁门或者是煮东西在沸在逼那个水壶那种。
A decorated veteran, Guang worked on some high-profile cases, including a 2020 Black Hawk helicopter crash that killed 8 military personnel. But regulations say service dogs must retire when they reach 8 years old. However, a new generation of patrol pups are close on Guang's tail and have already started training. This 1-year-old mixed pup, Ye, is currently the star pupil in his class and is learning skills that will make him ideal for search and rescue operations.
我们会做它的地形的适应性，然后还有对人的亲和力的提升，然后还有它的鼻子对气味的反应。
Saving lives is no easy task, so training starts early for pups in service, who can take their exams as soon as they're 18 months old. But handlers say most dogs aren't ready until they're at least 2.
真的很难啊，不可能说我一只犬只就是这样子到18个月就马上可以让它通过测试，也是要看犬只的特性，还有它的能力，再加上就是我们领犬员慢慢的去努力增强自己。
Search and rescue dogs need to have a keen sense of smell and high levels of obedience to make the cut. Skills that will help them quickly locate people in a disaster, particularly important in countries like Taiwan that are prone to earthquakes. As these pups continue honing their senses, veteran Guang can continue enjoying his well-earned retirement. James Lin and Rees for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we sign off, check out these latest looks from the runways of New York Fashion Week. I'm Betty Chen. Take care and see you next time.